doing? We're going to do a little story time as I finish getting myself together. The move overall, the drive went great. I wasn't tired. This is the furthest that I had to drive in my life. Um, we followed each other. Our cars were packed to, beyond capacity. It was really ridiculous. It was really, 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 really ridiculous. The amount of stuff, the amount of stuff we had to leave behind that we couldn't fit. It was a disaster. And in hindsight, I could have did a better job, but I haven't moved in so long. And even then, when I have moved in the past, I really have to do, didn't first of all have the amount of things that I have now. And in a previous life, my kids were smaller. There was always football players around because my ex-husband was a football coach. So I didn't have to lift nothing. I didn't really have to pack nothing. So this was an experience, guys. And I could have did, in hindsight, a better job. Last minute Lucy really destroyed me. And also I did a lot of shopping before I came here. You know what I mean? Because I wanted certain things. I mean, I'm happy that I have them and that I got them, but it just added to, the move. I mean, my car is not that big, and neither is Mr. Fuller, so it just was a lot. And a lot of things could have been sooner. What didn't help was me taking on that part-time hustle. For over a month, working all those days, I didn't get nothing done. I'm happy I did that because it helped me have a little stash, but it didn't help with the move, if you know what I'm saying. But that is over, and we are here, loving it. We set up the patio and just loving it. We had breakfast out there. He put together the gas grill. We grilled last night. The weather's great. It's going to be 81 degrees today. Next week in the 90s. And hopefully the pool opens this weekend or next week. They put water in it. Looks nice. So that's one of the things. A lot of the communities, not all, but several of them have community pools, and that's what we wanted. We wanted somewhere with the pool because we both like the water. So, and when I had my homes in the past, in my past life, always had a pool, always. That was a necessity. So, getting into the story time. You guys know me and Mr. Fuller went to North Carolina in January, to New Bern to see my mom. I hadn't seen her in a while because of COVID. North Carolina never was my favorite. I found it. I have a Dollar Tree haul coming up, and this is one of the items I hauled. So my thoughts of North Carolina, and this is no disrespect to anybody who lives in North Carolina. I am now with you down here, happy to be here. But where my mother lives, she's in the country, okay? So pretty. Now, I never liked Hard Candy's highlighters. I just never did before. I have bought them, yes, but I was not happy with them. So I'm going to be excited to try this palette. So, and I love my brushes from Dollar Tree. What do I want to try? Come on now. That's like a cream highlighter. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so we came down to check on my mom. Yeah, we came down to check on my mom, and we stayed not with her, but we stayed at a hotel, okay, in New Bern, and it was nice. The area looked really different. It felt like Long Island. We really liked it, and she came to us or whatever. And one day we went to go see her, and Mr. Fuller seen the trailer on her property. I don't know if I ever talked to him about the trailer on the property. It's a double wide trailer that my grandfather purchased a few years back. My older sister lived there for a bit. When the family went down, they would stay in the trailer. So I don't know if I've talked to Mr. Fuller about it. So when he's seen it, he said, we should move down here that same day. He said, we should move down here and fix it up. Well, there was a hurricane in North Carolina a couple of years back, and it was some water damage. So we couldn't take a look at it because it really needs to be gutted completely. Really taken away, to be honest with you. So another day we were down there. We went to Greenville to see, my brother Sam bought a house down here, and we went to Greenville. We spent the day in Greenville, and there's a huge medical district because Vidant Hospital is down here, and it's the biggest hospital I've ever seen in my life. So it's a big medical district. It's a college town, and we fell in love with it from that one day. So fast forward to we're coming back to New York. We made the decision that we wanted to move down there. But, originally Mr. Fuller said, by November we'll move down. And then that got pushed in the conversations to September. Then it got pushed to July. And here we are in May. 90 days later, we're here. So I wanted to tell my landlord in a timely manner because I know she's dependent on rental income to pay the mortgage, okay? Her and her husband are separated, and it's just her and her adult son. And I'm considerate like that. I would want as much notice, okay? And I wanted to tell my son, and I wanted to tell my father-in-law. So everybody had enough time to find housing. I mean, we're making this decision that's going to be affecting a lot of people. So I'm going to try something while I'm talking to you. I want to try to use this like as a contour. Maybe that's not smart because it might be a little shimmery. This is my Watch Me Blush palette from the crayon case. I don't know. I want to give everybody notice, right? I want everybody to know so everybody can do what they have to do. Hell no. Let me just continue telling the story. Anyway, so there was a situation at the house. There's been a situation at the house, okay? I won't say it was out of control, but it was a problem for me. The place that we rented is an older house, okay? If you guys been rocking with me, you've seen my kitchen refresh, where I spruced it up. I did a lot of things out of my pocket to make it comfortable for me. But in the past couple of years, there's been an issue with mice, okay? Usually when it gets cold, that's when it's a problem, okay? And, I expressed to her that this is a big problem for me. Now, I won't say it was out of control where I seen them more than one or whatever, but periodically we would catch one or whatever, or there would be a sighting, okay? And I was definitely afraid of them, okay? So I told her this is like a serious problem. I don't want to live with this issue. So she had a family member come out and who works for an exterminator company. Not an exterminator, they work for an exterminator company. And put down some traps. And the situation seemed to improve. It was a while before in the Lovedon Mr. Fuller scene one, okay? And along the way, we found so many holes, so many cracks and whatever that I got steel wool, caulk, patched up. Not my responsibility. I'm not the homeowner. However, I live there, whatever. And she found some cracks, around the house, and she sealed them up. But she should have gotten an exterminator, and I probably should have demanded, listen, I pay you every month, get an exterminator. Anyway, so we came back, and I called her after Mr. Fuller seen it in the Lovedon, and he had never seen them. This whole time he claimed he never seen them. They would like to torment me. I would see one or whatever like that. Again, definitely afraid of them. And her response would be, oh, they're more afraid of you than I am. Then they're more afraid of you. Don't worry. What else would she say? Oh, I don't see nothing up here. I don't have that problem. Anyway, so I called her and I told her, I said, we seen it and we caught it last night in the basement. So it's still a problem because she had her family member come out like 3 months before that and we didn't see anything. Okay. And again, we corked up and sealed up whatever holes that we found after, so thought the situation had improved. Okay. But the house is big and it's an old house. She has an attic, the basement. If you don't find out how they're getting in, glue traps and everything else is just a band-aid. It's not fixing the problem. You'll catch the one that you see and then there's more coming. Okay. Anyway, so I called her to tell her, and in that conversation, I wasn't planning to tell her I was moving in that conversation, but I knew within the next week, because again, we had just got back, we started the nursing license process, and we didn't have housing yet. I was looking, but this was just fresh. We came back the end of January, and this was the first week in February. I just paid rent or whatever. So she became very defensive. Well, I'm doing the best that I can do, and I don't have that problem. I haven't seen anything. I'm doing the best that I can do. And that's what set me off, because you're not doing the best you can do. I was the one who went out and bought steel wool and cork. You may have foamed up a couple of areas, around outside, but you don't say you're doing the best. Don't, please. I'm not, lady, please. Okay. You're the best at making sure you collect your rent. But as far as being a landlord, repairs and maintenance, don't tell me you're doing your best. She cries broke all the time. So, and I added it up when I did the cost of living comparison. We were paying $30,000 a year in rent. That's tax-free money. 30 grand tax-free money. I just never added it up. We just paid it. But I wanted to see the cost. What were we paying up there to what we were paying down there? And we were paying 3 months, 3 times the amount. 1 month rent there pays 3 months rent down here. That's a big difference. Okay. Anyway, so in that conversation, I kind of said, you know what? Another thing, we're moving. Okay. So, that conversation, didn't go well. So, I told her June 1st that we were moving. Again, I was going to plan to tell her in the next few weeks, but that conversation I just told her. So anybody who personally knows me knows that I always bragged about how good the heat was there. I don't know if you ever rented before, but in a past life, in the early days, me and my ex, and the kids were babies, we rented this apartment, and the heat would be good the beginning of the month, but towards the end of the month, it would be cold. It would be cold. And I never had that issue there with her. If anything, I was asking her to please turn the heat down. She controlled the heat. 3 different floors, and you should have had 2 zones or something, because you may be hot and maybe I'm not, you know what I mean? So the heat was always an issue there, but it was excess heat. It wasn't not enough heat. Well, after I told her we were moving, she took care of that problem. Okay. We went from Africa to Antarctica. Okay. Real quick. Real quick. So, and you know what? I didn't say anything because I felt like she was just being malicious and doing that to be, I knew where it was coming from, because I have been complaining for years about the heat. Now I tell you I'm moving, and now we're freezing. Okay? That to me was just like, okay, I got you. No problem. I'll just buy an electric heater. Okay, so you can freeze, because I know you're freezing if I'm freezing, because it's only one zone. So, and she's too cheap to plug up a heater. So I know she was freezing. So you want to freeze, you can freeze, but I'm turning on this heater. Okay. And that's what happened with that. And after that, our interactions, I guess this is a little long, our interactions changed. Okay. Whenever I brought somebody to the house and she happened to be outside, I would introduce them. So-and-so, this is so-and-so. She would praise me, which I thought was kind of strange. I'm introducing you to whoever this is. It could be a family member, it could be a work friend. Erica, isn't she the best? She's the best. Oh, they don't make them like her. She's the best, and I thank God for. It would just be disingenuous. Like, it just didn't seem real. You understand what I'm saying? It just didn't seem real. I don't know where it is. Well, anyway, so it just became strained, and then she would make little comments. Oh, when you, oh, and she even asked me when I told her I was moving. I said, I want to be closer to my mom. It's cheaper down there. Well, why can't your mother come up here? It's just like I should have checked her a long time ago, because she was constantly overstepping her boundaries, making little comments. One of Mr. Fuller's daughters, she made comments about the way she dressed, the way she sat in a chair, wasn't ladylike. My son, she made little comments about. She made comments about parenting. Well, if that was my son, I would have did that, or he would have never did that. She was very judgmental, and I really should have really checked her. But she's that type that you're never going to win an argument with. You're going to be constantly going back and forth. So people like that, I just ignore. Okay, whatever, and just go about my business. But I really should have put her in her place a long time ago. So we have the heating issue. Now, whenever I do have interactions with you, it's awkward. It's like you have an attitude. She proceeded to tell me one day that, so when I told her I was moving, I told her I wanted to keep the first floor because my father-in-law and my son, they can pay the rent. But in hindsight, I'm glad she said no, because I just don't want to be bothered. I wouldn't have no peace. If they did something or something was going on, she'd be texting me. So I'd be like managing them, making sure that they didn't break one of her precious rules. In hindsight, it was a blessing. So I told her we were giving up the Lovedon, but I would keep the first floor. And she said, let me think about it. And then she came back and said, no, if you go, everybody has to go. And then we would have conversations periodically, because I had to tell her, once we found housing here, which we found housing here in February, I told her we'd be giving up the basement, because why pay three places? We're going to be paying for the basement, we're paying for the first floor, and now we're going to be paying down here. How are we going to save money? We should be saving that money for, towards our future, whatever needs may come up until we find work or whatever like that. Well, that didn't go well. She complained about her finances. I'm putting her in a rough spot. She needs the money, but she's not considering us moving to a different state. That's affecting our savings. So we'll pay you and keep this level so you're good financially. Well, what about us? She didn't care about that. It's all about her. So what happened next? So she wasn't happy about that. Again, she did not want to rent to my son, which I understand, my oldest son, because he pushes boundaries. I'm going to keep it real. She's absolutely right. And she did not want to deal with my father-in-law. And she said, I have my reasons. Okay, fine. I didn't even ask her what they were. Well, one day she proceeded to tell me what her reasons was. And she said that when you and Anthony went to North Carolina to look for a place, I cooked so-and-so, I won't say his name, meaning my father-in-law, some food. That's another thing. She was always cooking for him. She would text me, is it okay if I bring him this? And why do you have to ask me? He's a grown man, you know what I mean? And I just didn't think nothing of it. She would cook for my son. My son liked her cooking. She would cook a lot of curry and blah, blah, blah. She's Guyanese. And, I really don't care. I'm not cooking for him. He's grown. You know what I mean? So she said when I cooked him some food, he made a pass at me. And this was the second time. The first time I wasn't sure. I thought I was overreacting, but he did it again. To this day, I've never told my father-in-law this story. So that's why I don't want him here. Okay, fine. I don't know what happened. I didn't discuss it with my father-in-law. I don't think that he would. He's not a perp. He's not a creep. I don't think he would intentionally do that. But I think it is possible, if it did happen, he could have misinterpreted her. Because she's a snoozer. A snoozer? Am I saying it? You get what I'm saying? I've seen her interact with men. She's very flirtatious with her fake handyman, but I know that's only because she thinks, let me, butter him up so he'll give me a good price. My father-in-law helped her shovel snow. He helped with the garbage. I mean, she even bought him a case of Corona. So I think he was misinterpreting her. You understand what I'm saying? Just like she would do with me. Oh, she's the best. Oh, she's so, you know what I mean? If it did happen, I think that's what happened. I think he misinterpreted her. I mean, cooking for him. What woman cooks for a man? I mean, I'm not saying you can't, but I just think and I'm not taking up for him. Again, I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But I know her and I know how she embellishes things. She's done it a lot of times with my kids. And, you talk to them and it's a different story. Then you go back to her. Then she kind of agrees with their story, but she still has her little twist on it. So I've caught her in lies before. But I've never said, why did you lie? I just don't care. I just keep it moving. Okay. I got a lot going on. Whatever. So that's why she didn't want them to stay there, which was fine. Give her back her house. But, she, like I said, when we went to go look for housing, we had no intentions of moving to North Carolina. Me and Mr. Fuller had intentions of possibly relocating out of New York, but North Carolina never was on the list, to be honest with you. And anybody who knows me knows that. My mother will tell you that. It was like, are you kidding me? Hell no. Just because I'm thinking of cornfields and, you know, where my mother lives is very country. I'll show you guys one day. Beautiful, but just not my speed. So she would say little smart things like that. She didn't want Mr. Fuller's daughter, one of his daughters, coming by. Like I told you, very judgmental. She made comments about my kids or my parenting. You should have did this. She's even commented on my past marriage. You should have did that. But you don't have your stuff together. Okay, that type. So she turned off the heat. She accused my father-in-law of sexually harassing her. It just was it just was an uncomfortable situation. It just really was. And I was there for 10 years. And then came the topic of my security deposit. This whole time, she never mentioned the security deposit. Now, normally I would live it out, right? But if you guys have been with me for a while, there was situations with Chunk's mother and my son. Okay? It was hell. I'm not going to lie. And she tolerated a lot more than I feel someone else would have. In hindsight, I see it wasn't because she cared, or like she would say, she looks at my boys as hers. That's a lie. She doesn't. Everything about her, I see she was a phony. It was because she wanted the rent money. That was the most important, and she knew I would pay. Okay, I've been with her 10 years, never missed a month, never late. When I said I'm coming with the rent on this day, I came. She knew I took care of the place. So, but it came to the point where he had to go, and he went, and that was that. But she didn't want him back on the property. I mean, she just really was just more involved than she should have. She also, unfortunately, lived there, which is something I did not know. A friend of mine who worked in real estate lied and told me that her son lived upstairs. So I didn't look at that as too bad, but then I found out her son looks very mature for his age. He was in middle school. I'm thinking he's a grown man. He's in middle school and she lives there. I never would have took the place. You know what I mean? I was actively looking and I had a couple of options on the table. I never would have took the place if I knew the landlord lived there, okay? Who wants to live like that and have somebody constantly looking out the window? She would do things like not talk to me all day, but me and Mr. Fuller will be going out, and time we get in the car, the phone rings and she'd want to tell me about something that my son did 2 weeks ago. When you could have, like, she was like a buzzkill. You understand what I'm saying? Like, she had nothing going on. So, I don't know. So, she never mentioned my security deposit, but I knew the side door needed to be replaced and my son's bedroom door needed to be replaced. But that's not $2,000, okay? Never once discussed my security. And Mr. Fuller was very upset with me because he's saying, why are you going to let that money go? And my thing was, she really put up with a lot. It was a lot dealing with that situation. It was. It was a lot. And I feel like I owed her that, you know, as just, I just felt like I owed her that. That was a big mistake. So we left May 15th. So May 1st, I really shouldn't have gave her anything. May 1st, I should have said, okay, I'm going to take half, live out the half of the security, and I'm going to give you half for the side door and whatever else that you need. You know what I mean? But I let her have the security, and I paid May 1st. We paid just 2 weeks rent because we knew we were leaving on the 15th. So in the moving process, I gave away so much stuff, guys. So much stuff. I was there 10 years, so you could just imagine. I donated so much stuff. I really wish I could have did giveaways, but I didn't have time for giveaways, guys, and I apologize. Thanks for rocking with me. But I didn't have time to be going to the post office, mailing anything and sorting it. I really didn't. So, certain things she would tell me, you could leave that. I know somebody. Um, just leave. I could send it to Guyana. Just leave, leave it. Don't worry about it. So I left her a couch and ottoman. I left the fireplace. I left a king size bed. Mind you, she told me, and so much other stuff unopened. Uh, it's ridiculous. So much stuff was left that she said she could use. So moving day, I really wanted to leave before she came home. I'm not a phony person. Mother's Day, she gave me something, and I didn't give her anything. I'm not a phony person. Her son did just graduate college, and I actually did print out. She sent me a picture of the graduation picture. It was nice, and I did Walmart prints or whatever, and I was going to frame it and give it to her or whatever. But when I went to Walmart to pick up the pictures, they weren't ready. It was nobody you never could find help, and I couldn't wait anymore. I waited close to an hour walking around. I had to leave. So I said, you know what? I could print them in North Carolina and mail them to her. So then that didn't happen. So we leave. She comes home before we leave, and she hugs. Oh, nobody was like you. You were the best, and thank you so much. You were the best. I'm going to miss you. I hope I get somebody like you, blah, blah, blah. So we get on the road. 10 hours later, she texts me. We just got to North Carolina. Well, we were in North Carolina, but we just got to like 4 miles to the house, and we found a gas station that had gas because I was getting a little nervous. We both were down to a half a tank. Well, I was. My tank is smaller than his tank. But still, I was looking on Gas Buddy, and a lot of stations didn't have gas. So we found one right off of the expressway on our way here that had gas. So we gassed up. So I didn't get her call. And also she texted me. So it was about my son. He had went back to the house. Why? I don't know. But he never gave me a reason why. But that's another story. So in that conversation, she said to me, downstairs was a disaster. But we'll talk about that another time. Then she told me about my son coming back there. He said he left something and he was going back to get it. So I said, another time? No, let's talk about it now. What do you mean a disaster? Oh, Carlos don't want this. Carlos don't want. Now, you told me to leave it. He was going to take it, or you knew people. Now, he didn't. Now, you're upset. And, oh, she had to replace the stove. Let me tell you something. That stove was old when I moved there 10 years ago. The stove still functions. But that stove should have been replaced years ago. As a landlord, do you think that your only job is to collect rent and you never have to do any upgrades? Do you really think that, lady? I lost it on her. And I think it was 10 years of me just ignoring her little smart comments and just letting her say what she wanted to say, and not putting her in her place. The woman wanted to get off the phone so bad because I let her have it. I let her have it because she wanted me to send her some money because she said, now I have to get a dumpster. It wasn't that much left where you have to get a dumpster, lady. It was not. And she asked me if I could send her some more money. the amount of upgrades that I made to the place, the linoleum flooring. If I could show you some before and afters of some of the rooms. Again, I did it on my own dime, but how dare you ask me for another dime when I let you keep all that security? I didn't even say give me half, give me a quarter. You got that security deposit. But as far as that stove, it was old when I moved there. You have to, if you want to upgrade it or whatever, you have to upgrade. That's what being a homeowner is about. I don't think she'll ever call me again. I blocked her though. But I don't think she ever called me because her feelings got hurt that night. Her feelings. And it was a buzzkill. Here it is. We made it to North Carolina safe. This is a day that I have been waiting for, a day that we couldn't wait for. We love our place. You know, it's a new start. And like my husband said, Erica, she's a buzzkill. If she had an issue, why did she wait till midnight? We didn't get here till after 11. Why did she wait all those hours? I know she went in the house right away when I left. He said we should have did a walkthrough with her, because why would she wait all those hours? It just was an experience with her. Dealing with her, it just was an experience. But the biggest thing for me is, how do we go from being in Africa with the heat on, hot as hell, to Antarctica? She would wait to turn the heat on till late at night. And I know she was freezing. She wouldn't turn the heat on until she couldn't take it no more. Late at night or right before she had to take her shower. Around the time she'd take her shower. But we had our heater, so we made a way. We made a way. But that's my story time for the landlord. I'm going to show you guys the patio. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. We didn't put up the white vinyl gate that has to be assembled. That's going to go in front of the lattice. We didn't put that together yet, but it turned out really, really nice. And that's where we are. I have to go get some citronella candles. I have those citronella torches from Dollar Tree. I don't know if they work. If they work, let me know. But we have to get the citronella candles for the table, because we had dinner out there, and you know, the bugs are a little bit of issue. And I was so jealous of the other units that had hedges. Some had hedges. And thanks to my mother, she said to me, you got to put some kind of gate there, because our patio backs up into our parking spaces. Each townhouse gets 2 parking spaces. So our patio backs up to our parking spaces. They used to be fully enclosed, but those gates were old and dry rotted. I'm glad they took them down. So they just put up the white vinyl dividers in between the units, which look much, much better, new. But the back was exposed to the parking lot. So if you didn't have a hedge, you're like on display. But we hooked up the full VIP, baby, and it looks amazing. So stay tuned for that, and I will talk to you guys soon. I have a Dollar Tree haul coming up. Hopefully I can record it today. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Here is a before of our patio, and as you can see, it was drab and now it is fab. This is the expandable garden lattice fence that I got from HSN. I zip tied it to the gazebo. Loving this patio set. Everything folds flat. Easy to store. It's really, really beautiful, that lattice. And we have yet to put up the white fence that's going to go in front of it. We put down some green faux grass outdoor carpet, because the concrete, as you can see in the before video, was pretty yucky, and we're loving it. Mr. Fuller put together the gas grill. Of course, you know, a matchy, it had to coordinate, but we're really enjoying this outdoor space. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you soon.